Hello, government students. Today you're going to watch two total videos. The first video will be more of the lesson and me going over the PowerPoint that you'll also have access to. And then the second video is going to be more of the explanation of the assignments and especially task number 3, which you'll see here in a second. So today's lesson is about the structure of the Constitution. And I just want to remind you where we left off the last time we were in class. We were looking at the Constitutional Convention. So if you remember, we talked about how the United States had a government known as the Articles of Confederation. This was the first government after the Revolution, and it failed. It was very weak, it had very little power, and the states were constantly arguing with each other. So the delegates decided to get back together and fix the articles, but they realized that they were just going to have to start over. So they decided to write a new government completely, and this becomes known as the Constitution. And the Constitution is what we still use today to dictate how our government is run. So just wanted to kind of give you that review so you understood where we were at. So the last assignment really that you did was the Constitutional Convention web quest, where you took a look at some of the things that were happening in this meeting. So now we're going to be looking at what actually they produced at the meeting, which is known as the Constitution. So I'm going to share my screen with you, and you'll have access to everything that I'm showing you today. So that way it will hopefully make more sense, and you can rewatch the video if you need to. So the first thing I'm going to show you here is the PowerPoint presentation. And this PowerPoint presentation is going to go over the structure. So these within the PowerPoint, there's 3 tasks or assignments or part of the assignment that I'd like you to complete before Sunday. So the directions for the tasks are here, and where you're going to be actually writing your answer, so to speak, for the tasks are on the second document you'll have, which is known or which is written as the Structure of the Constitution PowerPoint Notes. So this is where you'll actually write your answers. So anyway, you'll want to kind of go back and forth between these two things, and hopefully that'll become clear as we go through. So as you see here, there's some terms to know, and normally we would be doing bell work and you would have these definitions, but since we don't, I'd like you to actually look up these 4 terms and come up with a definition. Remember that you cannot copy and paste the definitions that already exist in Google search or whatever you're finding, because that's plagiarism. So make sure that you read through a couple different websites that have information about these terms, and then come up with your own definition best as possible to describe these terms. Make sure too that the terms you're looking up are related to the United States, because other places around the world use a constitution. And so just make sure also you're looking at the preamble of the Constitution, and then the articles of the Constitution, and then the United States federal government. So just make sure that you are using that. So once you have searched and looked up some definitions, you're going to write the definitions here on this document. And like I said, don't copy and paste. Okay, the second thing you're going to do for this assignment today is to actually Google again some pictures or symbols that would represent these terms, similar to our bell work where you would normally draw it, but for our distance learning, you can just look up a picture that represents that. And it's okay if you just upload this picture. And where you're going to actually upload this picture is right into the second section of your document, which is these boxes. So you'll just literally look up a picture or symbol and upload it into here. Make sure you format the picture to fit into the box so it's not so big and the document doesn't get so distorted. So you can make it smaller so it just kind of fits in here. And my goal is that you can use this document to help review and kind of have a better understanding of the terms, because I'll be using those in the lesson. So my suggestion would be to do this first and then come back to the rest of the video and the PowerPoint. That would be my suggestion, again, to do task 1 and 2. Okay, knowing the terms and having a better definition, real quick, let me actually kind of go through those with you. So Constitution is the United States government, and it is kind of like a rule book or directions for how our federal government will run. The preamble is the introduction. It's literally the first part of the Constitution. If we were going to look at the Constitution, open it up, you would see this in the beginning. Pre means prior or before. So the preamble is the introduction, and it has 6 main goals that are outlined that the people who wrote the Constitution were hoping to accomplish. Articles, in this case, are sections in the Constitution. You can think of them like chapters in a book. And then the federal government is a word that's used to describe our national government. It's used interchangeably. So when you think about federal or national government, we're talking about like the government you think of in Washington, D.C. with President Trump, our Congress, and the judicial branch. So think about that when the term federal comes up. Okay. So let's move on. So our goal for us today is to be able to describe these main parts or articles of the Constitution as you see down here. And I gave you a little bit more information that you can look at here as well. So goal is to be able to describe what's in the Constitution. So we could look at the Constitution in three main parts. Again, the preamble, it describes the purpose of the Constitution. Our next lesson will focus on the preamble only. The next section of the Constitution is the articles, or in other words, the chapters. And within these articles, it describes specifically what the government can do. When we're looking at the Constitution or thinking about it, some students automatically think it's really, really long. It's actually super short. It's one of the shortest constitutions in the world, believe it or not. Finally, a third section, which was added after the Constitutional Convention, were amendments. Amendments are changes or things that have been changed since it was first written. And there aren't that many. There's only 27. So it's very difficult to change the Constitution. So those are the three main parts. Now, this is specifically this is what specifically is in each of those parts. So again, the preamble. And then here are the articles or the chapters. So these are the things we're going to be looking at as we move on in this unit. We're going to be looking at these individually so you can have a better understanding of them. So here are the 7 articles. And if you look, basically Article 1 is the legislative branch, Article 2 is the executive branch, Article 3 is the judicial branch. And these are the things that make up those branches. The rest of the articles are more general things. There's a video that you can watch that goes through these different articles and sections of the Constitution. I know it's kind of lame, but it will do a good job of kind of giving you some music and some images and another way or view to look at the different parts of the Constitution. Here's also an image that shows you those 3 main branches and how the Constitution divides those up again in those articles. So Article 1 talks about the structure of the legislative branch. Article 2 talks about the executive branch. And then Article 3 talks about the judicial branch. We'll be spending the most time on those 3 things. Okay, this is your final task, and I'm going to make a second video for you to watch on this task because I have a time limit. Otherwise, I can't upload these videos to YouTube. And also for hopefully ease for you, you can just click on this video or the next video, I should say, if you need help with going over this task. So for task number 3, you're going to need your own piece of paper, preferably plain, but if you have only lined paper, that's fine. And then you need like a pen or a pencil. So I'm going to end this video and then I will post another video or a second video for you that will discuss task 3's directions. And just be aware that basically the first 2 tasks you're going to complete on this document, and you would submit this document along with an image of this one. So I'll get to that in the second video. So I'm going to stop this for now, and then I'll check in with you with a new video in just a minute.